Seriously though, whoever says that the iPhone XR sucks or whether the iPhone XR is not worth it, tell them to get the heck out of here, or you can also tell them to watch this video. If you love Apple, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. What is going on, guys? Apple World here, and welcome back to the Why You Need series, the series where I convince you or try to convince you for you to get a certain product or a certain service surrounding the Apple world. For today's episode, we've got the iPhone XR, one of the most hated iPhones that Apple has ever made, and I honestly don't really understand why. I think why people hate it so much is because Apple in 2018, they released the iPhone XS and the iPhone XR. Now, which one is better? Of course, the iPhone XS is better, but the iPhone XS is also more expensive, like a lot more expensive, especially the iPhone XS Max. If you're considering whether you should get the iPhone XR or the XS Max, the iPhone XS Max is going to be way much more expensive. The iPhone XR starts at $749, the iPhone XS starts at $999, and the iPhone XS Max starts at $1,200. So the price difference is huge. On the iPhone XR and on the iPhone XS, it's like a $200, $300 difference. So if $300 is a big deal for you, get the XR. I'll explain why in just a second. And if you're considering whether you should get the iPhone XR or the XS Max, now that's a big price difference. That's a lot of money. So you should definitely consider the feature that I'm going to tell you, whether the features that the iPhone XS has, whether that amount of money is actually worth it to you. Let's go ahead and start off the video by talking about the display. The iPhone XR has an LCD display, and on the iPhone XS, you've got an OLED screen. Now, the LCD display on the iPhone XR is a lot worse than the iPhone XS, because on the iPhone XS, the display that we have on the iPhone XS, it's simply outstanding. It's so beautiful. The blacks are so black and the whites are incredibly white. So does that mean that the screen of the iPhone XR sucks? No. A lot of people have also compared the iPhone XR to the iPhone 4 because the PPIs are the same as the iPhone 4. Now, you don't really have to understand what all of that means. Trust me. If you don't really trust me, go to the Apple Store, go ahead and check out the iPhone XR by yourself, and you'll see that the display on the iPhone XR is so incredibly good. The size of the iPhone XR is also incredible. The iPhone XR comes in 6.1 inches and the iPhone XS at 5.8 inches. So the iPhone XR is just a little bit larger. I really like the size. The size was actually pretty, I felt like it was perfect. I felt like it was the perfect size. The iPhone XS, I think it's a little bit too narrow. Like the iPhone XR is a little bit wider, which is a thing that I really like. So definitely check it out on the Apple Store and see which one is more comfortable with you. Just in my experience, the iPhone XR, the actual screen, the actual display, it was pretty comfortable. Now on the iPhone XR, you won't have 3D touch. Instead, you'll have haptic touch. Let me remind you what 3D touch actually is. It's when you force touch on the actual display. It's when you apply force. It's when how strong you're actually pressing on the display. On the other hand, on the iPhone XR, you won't have 3D touch. Instead, you'll have haptic touch. Let me explain to you what haptic touch is really quickly. Haptic touch is basically a long press instead of a forced touch, right? So it's really not that big of a deal. Haptic touch works perfectly fine. For example, instead of pressing hard, it's simply a long press on the iPhone XR. What sucks about the iPhone XR though, since you don't have 3D touch, is for example, you can't really peek and pop in messages. So let's say for example, I want to go ahead and read this text message just by that. I would be able to read it. On the iPhone XR, I wouldn't be able to do it. So peek and pop is not available on the iPhone XR. So the iPhone XS has stainless steel borders, and on the iPhone XR, you're gonna get aluminum borders. Now, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer stainless steel borders or aluminum? The aluminum borders on the iPhone XR looked great. There's 6 different colors, which we're gonna get into that in just a second. All the aluminum borders are actually matched to the color of the iPhone XR. So it's so beautiful how Apple has actually designed it. I'll link down below a color comparison video if you guys are actually interested in that. I went really in depth with every single color to help you choose which color you should get with your iPhone XR. And let's go ahead and start talking about the colors. The iPhone XR comes in 6 different colors. You've got the black, the blue, the white, the yellow, the coral, and the red. They're so fun. I love the yellow. I love the coral. I mean, if you're going with an iPhone XR, go with a fun color. I mean, we don't really see a bunch of fun colors with iPhones. We're always getting the same gold, the same black, and the same white. Now with the iPhone XR, the colors are just fun. They're just really awesomely fun. The iPhone XR also has an IP67 rating for water resistance, and on the iPhone XS, it's IP68. Now, should you care about all of this? It's basically the iPhone XS can go in deep more water for more time. Should you care? I don't think so. Now, the bezels on the iPhone XR are actually a little bit thicker than on the iPhone XS. On the iPhone XS, the bezels go side to side. On the iPhone XR, there's just a little bit of a thicker, it's not that big of a deal as well. Now let's talk about the camera, because a lot of people don't really seem to understand the camera between the iPhone XR and on the iPhone XS. What's the actual difference? Some people think that the camera on the iPhone XS is better, which they technically are, right? Let me explain, right? So the iPhone XS has two cameras. It's got the one on the top and it's got the one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is an optical zoom. The iPhone XR only has one camera, right? But the first camera on the iPhone XR is exactly the same. It's got the same optics, the same aperture, everything is exactly the same. So technically, the iPhone XS, the camera of the iPhone XS is a little bit better because you've got a second camera, but the actual lens, the actual camera on both phones are exactly the same. The iPhone XR is not worse, the iPhone XS is not worse, the cameras are the same on both devices. Do you understand that? Because I get so annoyed when people say, well, the camera on the iPhone XR sucks. No, it doesn't. Now, the battery is something that you will not believe. Check this out. So the iPhone XR actually has a better battery life than the most expensive iPhone XS. So on the iPhone XS, you have a talk time up to 20 hours. And if we compare it to the iPhone XR, as you guys can see, it's got a battery life up to 25 hours. So the battery life of the iPhone XR, the cheaper model, is better than the most expensive model. It's amazing. One of the things that I miss the most on my iPhone XR is the battery life, because the battery life on the iPhone XS, I love my baby iPhone XS with this gold finish. I love it. But the battery life on this guy sucks, and I miss my iPhone XR because the battery life was so good on it. Seriously, so incredibly good. Now, why is this? Why is the cheaper model, why does it have a better battery life than the most expensive one? Well, it's basically the thing that I told you in the beginning. The cheaper LCD display, the worst display on the iPhone XR, doesn't consume as much battery on the better display on the iPhone XS. So you decide, which one is better, the iPhone XR or the iPhone XS? Once again, the iPhone XS is better. There's some features that are better, but do you really care of those extra features for the extra money that you're going to put in the iPhone XS and on the iPhone XS Max? I personally own the iPhone XS because it's just the phone that I like the color, but if I didn't have this tech channel, if I wasn't making these type of videos, honestly, I would go with the iPhone XR. The iPhone XS is more expensive, yes, and it's got more features, so those extra features I like because I like the iPhone XS. But if I didn't have this channel, if I didn't have to show you the latest tech, I would go with the iPhone XR. My sister actually vlogged my experience with her going to the Apple store, and she actually bought the iPhone XR. Links are down below for that vlog. Definitely check it out. My sister is loving her iPhone XR. The extra features that we just talked about in this video, she does not care, and she loves the battery life on the iPhone XR. She says it's amazing. She says the camera's amazing. Of course, the iPhone XR also has wireless charging. It's got the same camera. It's got Face ID. You've got no home button. She likes haptic touch. She doesn't really care about 3D touch. So, guys, there you have it. Which one is better, the iPhone XR or the iPhone XS? The iPhone XS is better, but the iPhone XR, once again, has a way much better value than the iPhone XS. See you tomorrow.